Madhuri, I'm so excited to be here with you today and just to have a real conversation about life and some of the good and some of the bad, some of the hard, some of the easy, some of the ugly, and everything in between. You know, one of the things that we think about in life is how do we become better at understanding ourselves, whether as therapists or just as our own lives, our own personal lives, right? Like, how do we show up as our best selves? And I think right now we're seeing so much loneliness, and we're seeing it across all young people, older people. Why do you think, because I've been thinking about this a lot myself, why do you think it's so hard for us as adults to make good friends?
I think there are a few things. I think in general, people have been becoming increasingly more lonely. I definitely think COVID made it harder for folks. You know, if you had to quarantine, you were by yourself. It was really almost deafening to experience that much silence at certain points. But the only way folks were able to connect for years was internet, right? Or social media. And so I think people are feeling that. I think people don't know how to navigate doing what we are right now. Like, what does it mean to sit on a couch and just have a real conversation with someone you care about? And so I have concerns because I think that's all age categories.
How do you know when you found your person, or how do you find your people?
I think about my nervous system. And I talk to my patients about this a lot too. Like, often your body's telling you first if you feel really comfortable with someone versus whether or not they might make you feel insecure or anxious. And so I know that I've met someone that I feel comfortable with when I can relax and I can feel my nervous system is good and my heart rate's going at a calm pace, and I feel like it's almost like relief to be in the presence of that person rather than feeling pressure. And so that's a way that I tell folks too, to recognize, like, if someone's not making you feel those things with your body and your nervous system, they're probably not reaching you as the true person of who you are. You feel like you have to put a mask on with them or be somebody different just to get their connection.
From my perspective, I think it really is this notion of quality people. And you have to look at yourself and say, am I a quality friend? Am I a quality sister, daughter, parent, whatever it is? And my advice to people is go in and think to yourself, am I happy where I'm at? Do I want to grow? Do I want to change? And what do I need to do to be that person that I want to be? And that might be how am I going to show up in the world. And then everything else falls into place every time.
I remember when my own therapist, and the way she phrased it was, it's like you have a blank canvas and you're deciding whatever the colors are that you want to paint with, like, how does that make you feel? And for me to be able to say, like, scared, feels like I need courage to be able to decide. I've never had this. Everything has always been kind of structured or following a path. And now the path feels limitless, right? Like, what does that mean? But I think what you're also highlighting is it takes courage to admit you need to talk to someone. And the value of a therapist, granted we're biased because we're therapists, is that person has no idea what anybody in your life looks like, what your home looks like, what your environment's like, we're not there to judge our clients. We're not there to judge. We're just here to provide a perspective.
I love that. And advice that's been given to me that I'm always trying to share too is say yes. What happens is that, our universe shrinks really small when we say no all the time. And we should get out of our own way to be able to say yes and take risks, and sometimes that's what yes is.
If I can add to, which I think contributes to the lonely feeling, I think this concept you're talking about is so beautiful. Like, what does it mean for you to just say yes to the invite or, do the activity? I do think people tend to feel afraid of judgment if they're going to go out of their comfort zone, or if they're going to do something and be, clunky at it, or they're not going to really be familiar with the environment. What are people going to think of me if I don't have this down 100% as an expert socializer? You know what I mean? And I just think that when we challenge ourselves to actually be vulnerable, I've been leaning into this concept of leading with vulnerability. Like, what does it mean for me to tell people who look up to me, I don't know the answer to this question, or I woke up on no idea what the heck is going on my schedule. Like, what does this mean?
I totally agree.
And then they have permission to say
I
the same
so
thing.
agree. I say that to people with lived experience all the time. I'm like, by you sharing your story, you just made it okay and normalized it for everybody else.
Yeah.
I've often heard people talk about green flags, like with friends, where it's like, how do you know if it's a good friend or a transactional friend or whatnot? It's like, do they listen? Do they genuinely not judge you or make you feel okay? And giving people that opportunity to listen.
Yeah, I think there's another side of that too, which is, what do I have to do for my character or the way I show up to fit in with this person or fit in with this group that I, want to connect with more. And so that may mean forcing yourself to do things that make you uncomfortable, or maybe kind of like fake it till you make it. I think this person will be a friend to me if I tell them that I like the same things that they do, or that I want to do this activity that really on the inside I don't really want to do. Right. So I've started telling some of my patients, if it feels good, do it. Right? Like if it feels good for your nervous system, do it. If it doesn't feel good, ask yourself, am I going to get something out of this experience that'll cause me to grow and evolve? Or is this just going to feel like I forced myself to do something I didn't want to do? And when you can give yourself permission to acknowledge that, it steps you into your own power. The more unapologetic I can be for myself, I'm finding I'm connecting with humans that much more, right? Who also start to feel those things. And it's an energy, it's infectious. It's really lovely when you can do that with someone.
Another thing someone else had once said that I've really carried on for so many years is when we think about our physical health, eating healthy, sleeping, exercising, all of these things that we do it to not be physically ill, right? We're trying to stay physically healthy so we don't get sick and ill. We really need to think the same thing about our mental health, right? We don't want to get mentally ill. We don't want to get so severely depressed or anxious and have panic attacks, all of these things that can happen when we don't take care of our mental health on the front end. And going to get help could look really different for anybody. It could be, going to see a therapist for cognitive behavioral therapy. It could be using an app. It could be meditating. It could be whatever, it doesn't matter, whatever is right for you. And I mean, one of the things I love about Psych Hub is when we created this marketplace, you can go in and take an assessment and figure out like what's the right help for you, and then continue like you would get a personal trainer for your physical health. Continue to work on it so that you show up every day as the best person you can be.
Yeah, and I always tell people too who are starting therapy for the first time that if you broke your leg, you would follow the doctor's orders to fix your leg, right? Like you wouldn't just carry on with your life not being able to use your leg. Most often than not, it's physical therapy. It's probably being in a cast for a while. You might have to do some things to strengthen yourself. You might have to adjust your lifestyle. Your brain and your heart are the same. They're also, critical. They're the most critical organs we have. And so when your heart feels broken or your brain feels broken, I think we have a tendency to not see it the same way, that you've got to push yourself through a recovery process, a rehabilitative process to understand how can I strengthen these really core organs that if we didn't have them, our body wouldn't work, right? And I think that helps people also understand that it is like starting a new workout regimen. Like if you're training and you haven't, initially it feels great, you're on top of it, you're going, you feel really good, and then it starts to feel really hard. You're sore, you're tired. Right. It's like you're building these new habits. Therapy is like that, like you have to kind of commit to the process, because once you break through that threshold, it's so expansive. You can, what I'm talking about, like you can feel that benefit. So I encourage people to think about it the same way, is that the same way you would heal a broken bone, you have to take the time to heal your broken heart.
I love that. That's a beautiful way to look at it. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I think we're never going to stop talking about loneliness because it's so important, and it's this, epidemic that it's killing our world. It's not even just our country. It's like slowly killing us, and we all need to stay connected. We all need to be having these hard conversations and being vulnerable with each other and opening our heart to people and being there for people when they're going through hard times. That's another way that I think, allows you to keep a connection.
Yeah, I mean, I've wanted to do this, but I'll also say I wanted to do this because of who you are. I think it's really helpful when people can see people connect, but you are someone I do feel really connected to. And often people feel therapists are therapists, but we're humans as well. And so I've benefited from being able to be my vulnerable self with you. So my hope is folks can watch this and also understand maybe I can just step out of my comfort zone and ask that person to hang out, and you end up building a lifelong friendship with them.
Oh, I love that. I want to give you a hug.